I'm doing good. How you doing?
Fantastic.
Fantastic.
I hope you have a good day.
Hope you have a better week.
I hope your month is full of successful days and a lot of great ventures. I hope you just come up, brother.
I hope your whole fucking year is spectacular.
Oh, you hope my year is spectacular?
Yeah.
You got something you want to say to me?
You got something you want to say?
The martini, shaken but stirred.
Are you telling me that you built a time machine? What of a DeLorean? Get away from her, you bitch!
Snakes. Why did it have to be snakes?
What up, family? It's your boy Amaru, and we are back for another episode of One Gotta Stay, the show where I give you the impossible choice of picking some of your favorite characters, some of your favorite movies, some of your favorite whatever, and instead of one gotta go, one has to stay. We are in the middle of our One Geek Character Tournament. We have four of our Elite Eight. Obi-Wan and Spock went through in the first round 2 matchup. And last episode in our comics bracket, we had Spidey and Batman come through out of the DC and Marvel realms. And today we got some of the wild cards going, some of the characters that don't really fit a complete fandom, but you know them, you love them. And what our panel is going to do today is decide between Indiana Jones, James Bond, Marty McFly, and Ellen Ripley, which one of them has to stay while the rest are gone forever. And speaking of the panel today, we have a whole bunch of just beautiful gentlemen on screen. I'm going to start to my man over here. He hasn't been on in a while, but he is a regular. If you know this show, if you watch the show, today he is not the token white dude. Woo! But he's one of them. But I always love to have him no matter what we're doing. Mr. Ryan O'Regan. Ryan, how you doing, sir?
I'm good, Ruben, man. It's been a good weekend. Got some good money from work. Got a new car. Gary Busey finally got arrested for his misdeeds. It's been a good weekend, man. I'm happy to be here.
Hey, Gary Busey, there's a lot to say about this, man. But you know what? Whatever. It's all right. Right next to him, one half of the movie, guys. Only got one of them because the pay is a lot. So I had to split it in half. Mr. Paul Preston. Paul, how you doing, sir? You're back. You were one of the ones who were on one of the previous episodes with these two. How you feeling?
Ryan, how did Gary Busey hurt you?
Oh, I got a story from 2012. You don't know.
Yeah, I'm doing great. You know, LA's the place for movies. I mean, I went to see The Empire Strikes Back live in concert with live accompaniment last weekend, and this weekend is Raiders of the Lost Ark on the big screen, and an Encanto outdoor screening in Burbank that I'm hosting. So movies, man. That's what it's all about.
Living your best life. It sounds good. Right under him, one day, me and this man will debate one-on-one. Go watch him over at Multiplex. We debate a lot whenever we're on screen, but it's a fun time. So this is the first time I actually get to possibly argue with him. I'm very excited about this. Happy to have him on. Mr. Cody Newberry. Cody, how you doing, sir?
Well, I'm great. Yeah, I normally host a show on Wednesday where I yell at other people about their movies and why they suck at their decisions. But tonight, I guess I'm glad I don't host this show because I would be miserable half the time when I have to kick all these things off. When you sent me the list, I was like, well, at least you picked easy things to kick off. So yeah, should be fun. I've watched the show. I'm excited to possibly argue with you because normally you argue and I don't really get to say much on my show. So
True. Next to him, the man, the myth, the legend, one Mr. Musas, back for another round. How you doing, sir?
Well, shit, I didn't think of a funny anecdote and or like life story that has happened to me recently that's been amazing, like everyone else has. So I'll just say that the term handsome is the descriptive term when describing myself. Thank you, Amaru.
You're welcome. It's the first thing that comes to mind, the very, very first. And last but not least, we've been trying to get this man on for a while. Finally got it together. Didn't know he was a Falcon fan. A lot of people who live where I live in North Carolina don't like him, but it's okay. I like him. Mr. Nate Milton Great to have you on, sir. How you feeling?
That's what's up. Fly, Falcons, fly, rise up, my brothers. Good to be here with you, man. Like you said, we've been trying to work this out for a minute now, but schedule's finally aligned, and that cashier's check you sent me finally cleared, so we can do this thing for the people.
Right? We're all waiting on that.
Wait, you guys are getting paid for this?
Exactly. I'm like, whoa, what?
I just went through Cash App, made it a lot easier.
Whoa.
See ya.
You're too handsome to pay, Moose.
That's very true. Thank you for that.
I shouldn't have brought it up in the first place, but you know what? It's all right. It's okay. We're just gonna get started. As I said before in the intro, got to choose between these four great characters, or at least some would call them great, others maybe not. But let's just get into it. Cody, you're kicking us off. Who, sir, do you have as your number 4?
I had a feeling once I sent him my list and I watched the show, I was like, I'm going to be the first one he brings up and says what the 4 is. I just had a feeling. My first one I'm going to make pretty easy. Some of the I've had great movie experiences. Now, what I normally did, if there's other mediums out there, I didn't really take any of that into account because it's not my thing. Mostly movies. I've had good experiences with this, but I've had some of the worst experiences watching this exact thing. And my last is James Bond. It's number 4, James Bond.
Ooh. Wow.
Now, I mean, I'm just saying, like, for me, I love Craig's Bond. I do. But I love like 3 of those movies. I love Timothy Dalton. Those are 2. Roger Moore should have never stepped foot as Bond ever. I'm sorry. Those are some of the worst movies I have ever seen. There's a gem here and there. Connery's good, but how I put this is if I have to eliminate this, what is this leaving in my fandom? I get Mission Impossible still at this point, which Mission Impossible at this point is 5 good. 2 is not the greatest, but I still have that. James Bond, I'm not losing a lot. I'd rather have that than Bond. So Bond was an easy cut for me. It was just with that, I just don't see everybody, I brought this up to other people. I'm like, what do you guys think? And they're like, yeah, I get your reasoning. So I lose Skyfall, I lose Casino Royale and stuff like that, but I'm going to be okay at the end of the day. I think I'm going to be fine.
Does anybody else besides me have Bond at their number 4?
That is an astute observation, both of you, because I do. Yes.
Yes.
Bond.
Moose, gone ahead. You explain why Bond was the easiest choice out of all of this to put at number 4.
The dude is a clear-cut sociopath. Okay. Like, sure, you can say, okay, he's suave and he's got a good sense of style. He's phlegmatic. He's intelligent. He's sly. He's cunning. The dude's a fucking prick. Excuse my language, but he is. I mean, he's an asshole. He's misogynistic. He's heartless. He's cold and calculated. And yeah, sure, you can attribute a lot of this to, childhood trauma, and that makes for an interesting case study. But that's just the Daniel Craig version of Bond. All the rest of them played the very same cookie cutter role. It's just a job for them. I don't know. Bond is never sat well with me. There's certain ones I do enjoy, but yeah, Bond's, I mean, especially if you're categorizing like the best movie character to go forward on a geek spectrum. Yeah, sure. Maybe the type that obsessed with Bond as being, that every man or every person that every man wants to be and everyone wants to be with, or every woman wants to be with, but that's who Bond thinks of himself. That's not what everybody else does. So Bond's got to be on the last place here.
Cody basically gave the movie reasons. Moose gave the character reasons. There are no reasons to keep around this man. Like not in these 4, none. I don't think he's interesting. Again, misogynistic. The movies aren't that great. Even Craig's Bonds. You get one really, really great movie and then dog shit. And then one really, really great movie and then dog shit again. And then one really, really, actually, no, it was a pretty good movie. However, man should have died on that staircase in no time. I don't understand how he did not die there. Just don't get it. Not one bit. I think Bond is the easy out here for me. Plain and simple.
Yeah, and the one thing before the one thing I forgot is everything leading up to Craig are so standalone Bond movies that you have no connection to anybody else. You have like a character pop up and you're like, oh yeah, that's the character. They all run together. They're all nonsense at the end of the day. They make no sense. So that's why it was an easy cut, because Daniel Craig's the first one to ever connect like the love interest and everything carries through. The rest are just like, oh, we have a George Lazenby shows up for one time, and guess who's next? Connery's back for the next one. Like they don't miss a beat. There's no connective. It's terrible.
And you know what? On repeat viewing, the best two things to come out of GoldenEye were Sean Bean's death and the video game. Okay.
I guess you would lose the video game, but I sucked at that game, so it doesn't matter.
Same.
Doesn't matter.
Bye.
The other three of you gentlemen, I guess don't know what you're talking about. How do you feel about this?
I did not know. Like you gave me a little bit of an idea about what the show was going to be, but I did not know that you would give me a front row invitation to the Player Haters Ball, man. The way y'all speaking about this man, Jimmy Bonds, out here on this street, I can't believe it. I'm flabbergasted right now, fellas.
It's the truth. At least it's my truth. I'm gonna speak my truth, and apparently those two gentlemen's truth as well.
I respect your truth, brother. I respect your truth.
So whatever you got going on afterwards, I don't. You know what, Nate? You know what? Just give it. Give your truth. What is your truth? Who is your number 4?
Okay. Well, see, here's the thing. You know, we have to remember all 4 of these characters have earned their place in geek history, right? So there's no scrubs on this list, but we do have to rank them and kick 3 of them out. So the first person I'm giving the boot to, hey dog, loved you as Han Solo, but Indy got to go. Indiana Jones, first man out the door for me. And the reason why, Raiders, banger. Temple, banger. After that, they cool. They all right. They cool. The less said about the Crystal Skull, the better. But here's the thing.
Are you including Last Crusade in this? Did you include Last Crusade in that?
I said Last Crusade. It was cool. It was cool. It won't as hot as the first 2 though. But here's the thing, because I pay very specific attention to the directions you gave me when you invited me on this show, and so I'm looking at this not only based on what I like personally, but also if we remove this, what happens? And to me, I feel like Indiana Jones, great character, has some great films. Yes, you can say there's influences on other pieces of art, but I feel like if we remove Indy from this list, there's other things that kind of fill that Indy void. Whereas, and I'll speak to them when we get to those characters, I feel like there's arguments to be made for the other characters that they are less replaceable than Indiana Jones. So, I love that man Harrison Ford, Indiana Jones, like great movies. But for me, if somebody's got to go, it's got to be Indy.
I got some mess last time when he was on the last matchup, but I had him at number 3. So we'll see what happens there. But if you switch Last Crusade and Temple of Doom, because Temple of Doom is just to me, I don't understand it. But Last Crusade is anyway. Does anybody else have Indy at their number 4?
Here or watching? No.
That would be insane.
That's all right. That's all right. Much like the Falcons, I fly alone. I'm good with it.
You are alone on this one. That was, yeah. I saw, I when you brought it in, I was like, okay, we're going there. Sure, fine.
Someone chose violence. That's fine. There's always one.
He did.
At Nate Mosaic on Twitter. Come for me.
Come talk to him. Mr. Preston, Paul, what about you, sir? You have apparently Indy's not your number 4. So who is?
It's Marty McFly, and it's not a testament to the quality of the movies. I just saw Back to the Future in concert recently at the Hollywood Bowl because it's like it's a perfect movie, and one that risks so high. It took so many risks. Time travel alone, has trouble working, but to make everything work, incredible. That being said, I don't know that he's an action star. And the attempt to make him one in the sequels, like the whole chicken thing, didn't work. It was probably not the best part of his character, where he was just a kid, Doc, and trying to get the girl and save the get back to the present and save his parents and all that and save their love and and save his family pretty much if they don't kiss at the dance. All that stuff was cool. But then action star, I never thought it sat on him well when he went, "You call me chicken?" Like, where did this come from? This was not in the first movie. So by the time they play him like an action hero, I don't think it plays as well as it did on other people who are actually action heroes, which Marty is not. That doesn't say there's great action in the movie. I mean, there's certainly suspense and tension. I mean, with the car not starting and the lightning coming and the wind blowing things around, the tree falling, there's just suspense for days. But I don't know. I think there's also other stuff going on in the movie, playing the comedy, playing the romance, and these other things where playing a lot of comedy, that action is not even his forte. So even when they want him to be an action star. So no bag on the films, but he's not an action hero quite like the other three. So he ducked to the bottom for me.
Cody doesn't look too happy. Ryan, are you gonna make him a little happier, or are you agreeing? Do you also have Marty at number 4, or are you gonna piss me off?
Just remind me, what's the rule on swearing on here?
Fucking A, doesn't matter.
Marty ain't shit, all right? He is one of the most ineffective protagonists I have ever seen in a movie. He doesn't do a damn. He is more harm than good, all right? Yes. I'm sorry. You compare him to the other three. Marty is the one that makes the most amount of trouble. And frankly, without Doc, without the DeLorean, Marty wouldn't do a damn thing. He'd be stuck in 1955, probably end up boinking his mom, all right? The boy doesn't do a damn thing worth a good. All he does is fix his own mistakes. Why am I going to root for that character?
Cody, you good?
This is miserable over here. I'm just going to say this is absolutely miserable. We have one that shows action. Well, I didn't put Marty in the action category. He's not there. And then the other just incompetent. You'll lose Back to the Future by taking Marty out. I'm just saying, you don't get to keep and put him another guy wearing a vest in. You lose Back to the Future. That's what you lose.
That's fine, but we're not talking about the movies. We're talking about the character.
The movie would be going to
The movie
would be going
as
to.
the lead is stupid.
Movie would be going to.
Like the almanac. He's the one that goes chasing after Doc. He's the one that can't get the damn machine going because he's being chased by Syrians or Albanians or whoever's got the bazooka.
But with the character, you lose Back to the Future. You lose him in all media
as well. You lose Back to the Future.
And you know what? At some point, someone else, maybe Zemeckis later on, someone else would have created a time travel machine similar to it. All right.
I'm running into a wall here. A brick wall.
It's great.
A brick wall.
No.
The Huey Lewis and the News disrespect here, man.
I'm telling you.
We can't lose that soundtrack, man.
That popularity is just as good now as it was then.
That's a great loophole. Zemeckis just comes out a year later and makes another one. Guess what? They had a character in mind for Marty McFly. He cast him. They replaced him with who? This guy, Michael J. Fox. That's the character you're replacing. Zemeckis tried to make the movie without Michael J. Fox. It didn't work.
It didn't.
He tried one scene. All right. Let's do it like Warner Brothers does it. Let's make a whole movie, then just take out the lead character, replace it with someone, and see how that works.
Well, with that, where we are right now, Paul and Ryan got rid of Marty McFly. Nate got rid of Indy, which surprised the hell out of me. And then me, Cody, and Moose all got rid of the actual right choice in James Bond because nobody really cares about him. Or I guess maybe they do. But you know what? Moose, keep it going. Who's your number 3, sir?
I chose this guy because I like him more than James Bond, but I'm inclined to agree with Mr. Preston and Ryan that Marty McFly comes in at number 3, and he's got to go. A couple of words here to remember what Marty McFly did in Back to the Future Part 2. First one, Gray's Sports Almanac. That little prick decided to be greedy and then fucked up everybody's lives down the timeline, right? The whole movie, the whole second movie is basically him having to fix the mistakes that he made, which inflicted terror on the people that he loved. And don't get me wrong, how ugly his
children are.
That's right. And don't get me wrong, I absolutely adore the Back to the Future trilogy. I think it's one of the finest trilogies of all time ever made. And I agree with Paul that Back to the Future may be one of the best movies ever made, the first one. But the whole second movie is just about Marty being a greedy little prick. Even when he's an older, like they show like his future self, he's still inside trading, gets fired, right? He's in a fucked up situation. Why? Because somebody called him a chicken, needles, and he couldn't get over it. And so then he got into a car accident and fucked the rest of his life, and he can't play guitar. Much love for Power of Love, but there's no power of love when it comes to Marty McFly's deeds. He's got to go.
Does anybody else have Marty McFly at number 3?
Yes.
I do too. So do I.
There we go.
I'm gonna start this one off or continue.
Tony is
this.
just wanting to not be here now.
Not at all. Not at all. And it's hilarious. Here's the deal. The thing. Again, Nate said it. All 4 of these characters, 3 out of the 4 of these characters are amazing. Are great. All 4 are iconic. 3 are great. I consider Marty to be pretty great. But comparably to the other 2 I have, look, Marty didn't even beat Doc Brown for me. I like Doc Brown infinitely more times better than Marty McFly. And you know what? He's cool. He's all right, but he's just big-headed. Everybody else saves him. And look, I can do if I have to lose movies in this list, Back to the Future is the next up. It's Bonds, then it's Back to the Future coming up with the characters that are there in there. And I'm sorry, Marty's got to go. Give me Doc. I'll take Doc. That'd have been a little harder. Might have switched some stuff up. But for Marty, you can get out of here, man.
Yeah, man. For me, like, all love to that man, Michael J. Teen Wolf, Spin City, Alex P. Keaton Fox. Like, that dude is amazing. Much love to the brother. Love the first Back to the Future. Second one, third Back to the Future, it's a guilty pleasure. Because here's the thing. You talked about Doc being your favorite character in the movie, man, and I would agree. I'm going to say, in the third movie, my ranking is Doc, Seamus McFly, and then Marty McFly. Because Michael J. Fox is doing work as Seamus. Just like the accent, the mannerisms, like he's doing work. Like, but again, we got to take the best of the best, the cream of the crop, as Macho Man Randy Savage used to say. And Marty just does not make the list versus the other 2 that I have remaining. So yeah, Marty and Back to the Future, the trilogy, the games, all of the stuff, the wonderful soundtrack provided to us by Huey Lewis in the News. It's got to go, fellas.
I didn't listen to Huey Lewis that much, and I don't need any. And also, after seeing American Psycho, I definitely don't need Huey Lewis either. I'm so sorry, Cody, but really, I'm not. Ryan, who's next? Who's your number 3?
Okay, now that we have the most ineffective person out of the way, my next is probably going to have to be the one character that, for all of the pomp and circumstance that they had, really didn't do much against their foe, except maybe one cool scene. That's got to be Ellen Ripley.
What?
Look, I know you were going to, but here's the thing: you got to look at it from Alien all the way to Alien Resurrection. Who did she really save? She saved herself in the first movie. She tried to save Newt and Bishop in the second because everyone else died around her. In the third movie, they're dead, and she's on a prison planet, and the only way she can get rid of the xenomorph is by sacrificing herself. And then we find out in Alien Resurrection, that wasn't even worth it. She goes ahead, ends up being a clone, makes one of the ugliest babies with a mama xenomorph that we've ever seen in film. Like, what was the point of her other than being in that mech suit fighting the Queen? That's all she got.
Okay. Sure. With that one, anybody else have Ripley as their number 3?
I do.
Go ahead. Go on ahead, gentlemen.
Cody, you got this? You want to go?
Yeah. So, again, I understood the assignment I eliminate these from all mediums. All mediums. Not because someone's a pompous ass and they don't really like the character in a movie. I get to lose the movies. That's how I took them. I don't get those anymore. I don't get Huey Lewis in the News as soundtrack. I don't get none of that anymore. That's just gone because somebody didn't like a guy in a vest and he was a pompous ass. The reason why I picked this one is because I picked everything basically of how Hollywood is treating things now. Alien movies can continue on as is without Ripley involvement at this point. They can make another Alien. They have proven they've moved on from Ripley. It's possible. That's my whole thing. I think Ripley's in a fantastic, probably one of the best 70s movies of all time with Alien. I think Aliens, they go into the action. That's fun. The other two, awful. I just don't. Everybody says Alien 3 is a gem. You're wrong. And then that one's god awful. So my thing is, I'm not losing much. She is fantastic in those two movies, but I have to carry these two movies with it that I don't enjoy. So Ripley had to go. I think she's badass. I think she's absolutely great. But how I broke this down is in the realm of the movies that I have left. I don't want 50-50 split. I don't want a 50-50 split. If I have to watch two crappy movies. I'd rather not do that.
And this is why I leave it open, because everybody takes it how they want to take it, and it makes for a fun time. Paul, what about you?
And I hate it.
Well, I never saw Alien Resurrection. I mean, I heard it was bad, so I didn't watch it. But I got spoiled by Cameron. Alien is brilliant. Aliens is amazing because you see so much Alien. And then by Alien, I mean, Cameron built things, Stan Winston built things. It was just this incredible presence of Alien. By Alien 3, it was a lot of Fincher doing like Alien POV cam shots, and I was losing it. So between that and the bad reviews, I never saw Resurrection. So Ryan, thank you for that description of that movie. Now I am going to see it, because what the hell is going on there?
Oh God!
So, it just sounds like so insane. Now I feel like it should at least be on the background while I'm doing something else. But that being said, in all those films, she's an action hero in moments. She spends the first movie running and saving herself, not really an action hero. And the second one, it's the Marines who are really doing most of the action until she's required to step up. And then, she's in the worst movies well, Bond made so many. There's some bad stuff in there. But if you talk about of only 4 films, she's got the worst number of bad movies. She's got the biggest number of bad movies in a small collective on this list. So, see ya.
Oh, hurts my heart when y'all say about my girl, but it's all right. It's all right. That's everybody's number 3, so we're gonna get into it. Our final 2. Me and Moose both have Indiana Jones and Ripley as our final 2. Paul and Ryan have Indy and Bond. Cody's the only one already left. We'll see where he has him. Also has Indiana. And Nate, the only one to get rid of Indiana so far, have Bond and Ripley left. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get to the numbers at number 1. But before you do so, please, BitesizeBreakdown.com. We just did our posted our reviews today for Day Shift and Bodies. So that's up, as well as our feature of the fans of Bite Size Breakdown. You voted on the best MCU films. And so that's also up on what you decide are the best MCU films to date.
Is Bodies good?
I've heard it's good. I haven't seen it myself. I believe a couple other people, including Nick, did the review on that. That's one good thing about Bite Size Breakdown. We got a bunch of people, so some of us can see it, others can't. But I believe it's one that I was convinced now to go see. I'm definitely going to try to go see it soon. But with that, going into our number 1s, and here are the numbers for who got saved with our number 1s. 3 people on this panel saved Indy. We know the one person who saved Marty, because that's what it is. Somebody saved Bond, and one person saved Ripley. Nobody is on their island by themselves, or the only one by themselves. So we're just going to get into it. And I don't understand how in the world you say anything bad about Ripley in any way, shape, or form. Alien and Aliens, probably up there with every single other movie, period. And as a character, not only does she have one of the best actual character arcs, but she is actually more than just the one note kind of thing everybody else is in this list. She's brave. She's a mother. She's badass. She's intuitive. She can be sensitive. She can be hard. She has fought through everything. Ellen Ripley is by far one of the most greatest characters ever. Aliens is better than Alien. to me, but that's just my sensibilities. And I would want to watch both of those movies as much as I would want to watch Back to the Future or Indiana Jones. Indy was my number 2, but as a character as a whole, Ripley brings it a little higher for me. So Ryan, I don't know what you're talking about, but the rest of y'all, how y'all feel? Nate actually kept Bond, and then Moose, Ryan, and Paul have Indy, and Cody's over there miserable, being the only one with Marty McFly. Go ahead, gentlemen. What y'all got to say?
Nice hat. Look, the way you want to describe Ripley and Bond and Marty, to me, Indiana Jones is like an amalgamation of all the best characteristics that those 3 characters have. All right? You have the everyman common likability that Marty has. You've got the intestinal fortitude that Ellen Ripley projects, and at least, the aliens. Now, maybe not so much Alien or Alien 3, but certainly aliens. And look, say what you will about James Bond, but you know what? The man's intelligent. The man gets the job done. If he has to kill some people, he has to kill some people. And Lord knows India has racked up enough Nazi bodies and some cultists to make it work. All right? He is an adventurer in the truest sense of the form. And if I'm going to go ahead and keep anything that's going to be able to, keep my interest throughout an entire movie, because, I mean, like Cody said, if we're looking at the movies in general, okay, some people may not like Temple of Doom. I started on Temple of Doom. So I love that movie first and foremost. Then Raiders, then Last Crusade, and yes, less said about the Crystal Skull, the better. But even then, that's like 3 movies out of 4 for me. That's 75 percentile. Way better than the 50-50 split that you'd have with Aliens. And Bond, even though he's my number 2, yeah, every other movie is bad. But, that's still a lot better than what Ellen and Ripley and Marty McFly's goes ahead and brings to the table. So
I don't have to watch the other 2 movies. I don't understand what that is.
I'm going with the True Adventurer, man. I cracked my whip if I had to.
Go ahead, fellas. Anybody want to take a keep on?
Are we taking Indy, or are we talking? Can I do justice for Marty McFly?
You can talk Marty all you want. Talk Marty. Talk how you want to do it.
Okay. So in recent events, Alien definitely been done. Like, other people could take over that mantle, especially sci-fi fantasy. James Bond, clearly Ethan Hunt's doing enough out there. He doesn't need anybody else. Indiana Jones, already trying to cast the old geezer, still in number 5 right now. Terrible decision. It's probably gonna be what you're saying is 3 of the 4. It's gonna be probably 3 of the 5, because those other 2, I bet it's not gonna be great. Mine is the only one that, if you argue that should never be remade, is Back to the Future. It is argued, it is told, it is people do not touch Back to the Future. It is one that will hold, and you're eliminated from that. I think it's one of the best sci-fi films. Indy was my number 2. I think Indy's great. Again, if I didn't lose to anything, I think Indy is the clear number 2. But Kingdom of the Crystal Skull exists, and I've never been more pissed off at a movie in my entire life when I was young and having to go see that piece of shit. So you can say, the less said about it is better. It exists. He put his ass in the refrigerator. He got launched out of the thing. He's there. It's in your movie. You get to keep him. You get to keep him in Shia LaBeouf and everything that's in your movies. So just enjoy that. I'm just saying, I'm blown away, one, that Bond made it to the end, but hey, and Ripley made it to the end. You two, I'm sorry, wrong. You're wrong, Rue. You said what we can say. We clearly said it. She has the support. She has the support of everything. And yours is the one franchise that if Alien ate more people, we'd be happy about it. If Alien ended where she ate Ripley, we're probably satisfied at the end of the day, because everybody wanted to see the xenomorph eat more people.
Wasn't it supposed to be the original ending of Alien? Wasn't the alien supposed to be able to sound like Ripley and like do a little communique?
I have no idea. And I'm
glad but that would have been sweet.
So yeah,
I would have been good. I would have been game for it. Jump out, eat her head, and then move on. Done.
People would have liked that, but I don't think he said it. I don't think there's a more badass moment than the mech suit against the Queen. So
that's pretty badass. Yeah, they're good.
Yeah, and I feel like Cody just kind of made my argument for James Bond, and he didn't even know he was making it, because he brought up that man Ethan Hunt. Okay, he's talking about, you know, all these other people doing what James Bond did. And in the words of Ice Cube, James Bond sitting there talking about, I started this gangster shit. And this the motherfucking thanks. I get James Bond started the whole ball rolling. And, you know, you can say, oh, they didn't have as high a hit rate as the Indiana Jones movies, which is probably true. You can say, you know, they weren't as beloved maybe as Back to the Future. You can make that argument. But I'm telling you, James Bond is indelible. There's a reason the character keeps on going and keeps on going and keeps on going. And it's not just so the people that own James Bond can make money, although that is part of the reason. But there is something to the gentleman spy that just speaks to people. You know, and here's the thing, like James Bond isn't even really my cup of tea. But if I'm thinking like, if we get rid of James Bond, you know what? We're getting rid of all of these movies. Some of them are really, really good. We're getting rid of GoldenEye, the video game, which still, I know like it's in 420p, but GoldenEye still to this day is one of the greatest video games ever created. We're getting rid of the imitators, right? We're getting rid of the duplicators, the clones, like an Ethan Hunt. We're getting rid of, dare I say it, one of my favorite scenes in one of my favorite Marvel movies, Black Panther. We don't get the casino scene if James Bond wasn't around to let people know how we get down out here on these streets. So I'm just saying, gentlemen, everybody has a right to their opinion. I respect all their opinions. Shout out to the girl Ellen Ripley, because she was my number 2 choice. You know, I think she was a badass. She did her thing. But to me, James Bond is the one that has left the most indelible mark in geek culture. And if y'all want to take that away, that's okay. I'm not going to hate you for it. But I'm saying I'm standing up for that man, Jimmy Bond, because without him, a lot of people wouldn't be out here on these streets making money.
I've always said it's not about who's the first, it's about who's the best, and there's so many more better than him. But anyway.
But you don't know how to do it until you see it done.
That is true. That is true.
All right. I'll chime in on Ellen Ripley because she's my number 2. And she's my number 2 because, look, I didn't evaluate this based on the movies. You guys keep comparing the movies. This is based on the characters from these movies, right? Otherwise, the pictures of the movies would be up on this freaking panel.
That's not what we got. We can decide however we like.
That's
clear.
Red
Any
Sox
medium.
fan, so-
Any medium.
I mean, only a Red Sox fan would read into it that way, but Ellen Ripley's a badass. Playing it, so yeah. Hey, I ain't got nothing to talk. I'm an Angels fan, man. We're garbage. But look, Ellen Ripley is a fully fleshed out human character put in these extreme situations. Yeah, I get it. She didn't save everyone, but it's not for lack of trying. Okay, like she tried her ass off to save these people. It's not my fault that Pete Postlewaite ran left when she told him to run right in Alien 3. Like, these circumstances are happening. She's doing her best to try to be able to survive the situation, but also, fuck, Ripley was a sticking to the man type of gal. She fucking hated Weyland Yutani. She was not going to let them get the xenomorphs in 2 and 3, right? So judge the quality of the movie, but don't judge the character of Ellen Ripley.
None of these other characters until freaking Bond, how many movies down the road, would make the sacrifice play.
Right.
Nobody else would make the sacrifice play.
Exactly.
And it ain't her fault David Fincher wanted to direct some bullshit at the beginning of that movie with those 2 characters. But anyway.
Well, it isn't her fucking fault that she got cloned either. Like, she didn't intend for that to happen. Come on now. So Ellen Ripley, number 2, and yeah, of course, the hats come out before. It's going to come out again. Indiana Jones. I mean, look, Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade has one of the greatest endings in any movie of all time, right? The heroes ride off into the sunset. It's fantastic. Indiana Jones is the adventure that I think everybody at some point in their life has wanted to be, right? Everyone's wanted to explore a cave, find a pile of gold, and get chased by a giant rock, okay? Don't lie and think that you haven't wanted to have that happen to you, okay? Every one of us has imagined ourselves running from that boulder. But Indiana Jones is just iconic, right? You can see the silhouette of Indiana Jones, the hat, the whip, the satchel, gives it away instantly, right? And yeah, hey, you got a guy like Jimmy Bond, and you can easily show that little pinhole, down the barrel view, and you know that that's James Bond. But again, when it comes down to characters, who do I want leading my pack? I want Indiana Jones, followed by Ellen Ripley, followed by that little prick Marty, followed by Bond, who's trying to drill Ellen. So.
Paul, you've been quiet back there. I know your love for Indy. You explained it very much.
And there he is. I have a picture of him right here, and I think my family's up here. So that's to give you an idea.
Priorities.
Well, listen, the most iconic moments from the best film of all the films we've talked about today, the best film is Raiders of the Lost Ark. So the character that comes from that film is my favorite. Of course, that's my opinion, but I really think I can make an argument all damn day. I think Harrison Ford is the best actor that plays any of these characters. There's an argument for Sigourney Weaver, who's excellent, but let's see. I want to respond to some of the stuff I saw. First of all, Geezer. All right. Secondly, listen, Mads Mikkelsen has seen this dude in the gym now making Indiana Jones 5 and said he's a beast. So, I mean, the guy bikes to Mexico and back from LA all the time. He's not a geezer. I mean, I want to be Harrison Ford 80. I've seen 80 in my hometown. I want to be Harrison Ford 80.
I just don't want to be in a plane with him. That's all.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Fair.
You fly? Yes. Land?
No.
But and you talk about one-note character as well. He is not that. I mean, Harrison Ford said he's an academic first and an adventurer second, so he clearly has two things going there, and that's shown in the films too with his professor ways. But he grows. You know, he starts from like raiding a museum to by the third movie, he's like it belongs in a museum. Or I'm sorry, he's raiding the cave to by the third one, it says it belongs in a museum. You know, he goes from being a total skeptic, and he of course is an expert on the occult. They call him that at the beginning of the first movie. But by the end, he knows about the power of God, and he knows about being the penitent man in the face of otherworldly power. So he grows, and he has a risk of sacrifice that Ellen Ripley has him. He doesn't do the sacrifice, but he has a risk of it, drinking from the Grail. He's like, I got this. I'll take it on myself, which he does, of course, all the time. Even going back in to get the kids from Temple of Doom is some hero shit that could have done him in, but he knows it's the right thing to do because he always does the right thing. But the main thing about the first movie, and I'll admit to being bipolar here because Crystal Skull is the worst movie I've ever seen, but I will take it because Raiders of the Lost Ark is the best movie I have ever seen.
Coin toss.
And so yeah, I gotta trade off on that. And Raiders works because in a lot of action movies today just forget this. Rules make them dangerous, then have fun. And a lot of times, even in the sequels, you know, the fun that a movie has tends to deflate the seriousness of the stakes. You can do both. You don't have to, you know, the Star Wars is guilty of this all the time, where they got some goofy characters doing some wacky shit, and you're like, are we supposed to be like having some serious stakes here? So anyway, that's plus he saved the world a number of times. Bond only did it like in his last movie.
Go ahead, Cody.
That substitute for Indy should get more credit than Indy ever as a professor. He shows up and leaves instantly. You're saying that he's an academic first. They have one scene to prove that he is a professor, and that has to be the best tenured program ever at a university. Be like, just go. We'll cover you. No one, he doesn't even know that he has students. He has no clue who his students are.
To escape.
Hey, back then, teachers got paid what they were worth, all right? He could go off and do whatever.
You don't want to see Indiana Jones and the 230 class. I mean, you don't want to see the academic movie.
Paul, I'm not arguing. Paul, I'm not arguing that. You are the one to defend him and said he's part educator first, and the man doesn't show up his job. Like, that's my problem. I'll take back the geezer line, but you have to say that he's not a great professor.
This is a quote from Harrison Ford. He said that he approached Indy as an academic first. That's just what he said, and I think it shows on screen. But
and in the one classroom scene, we learned the golden rule that X never marks the spot.
And potentially,
I want to know where that was on the syllabus. Okay.
Yeah.
Honestly, I would have rather watched
an educator.
Yes, honestly, I would.
Crystal Skull showed that he was an educator. He tried to teach books as much as he could.
Yes.
He tried to train the boys.
Are you really using Crystal Skull as any kind of...
It also proved that if you put yourself inside of a refrigerator when a nuclear explosion, you can be shot across the desert and survive. So
that was going to be my point. Like,
I'd still try it. No,
classroom scenes would have made Crystal Skull better. More classroom scenes. Is that what that film needed?
The logic is sound. It's a lead-lined refrigerator.
Now, am I going to go ahead and swing with the monkeys? No, I'm not going to do that, but I'll try the bridge.
God, if this isn't Indiana Jones 5, The Apology, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I need that. I need that like I needed Star Trek 6.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna apologize to all of you for some of the slander that's been said tonight. But I'm gonna ask that you think of one final question before we get out of here, and as I give a recap. Out of all the characters that aren't in any of these fandoms, no Wizarding World, Lord of the Rings, DC, Marvel, think of wild card characters, no Star Treks, no Star Wars. If you could pick any of them in any movie, and it could be one of the characters, one of these 4 characters as well. But if you could think of one character that you could consider to be a fringe or wild card geek movie, who is the one character you would save? So quickly to recap, and then I'll go first. I saved Ellen Ripley. Nate saved Bond. Cody saved Marty, and Paul, Ryan, and Moose also saved Indiana Jones. For me, thinking about these wild cards, my number 1 doesn't change. Ellen Ripley. One, I will say this: a lot of these movies I did not watch growing up as a kid. I actually watched a lot more because I had to do this trivia stuff, and so I don't think I have the nostalgia factor in there either. I will say Back to the Future is the one I've seen the most and at the earliest point of life. But finally seeing a lot of these, Ellen Ripley has always been the one character for me that I think is one of the greatest characters of all time. Point blank, period. Because I think she fits all of those different types of things. She has a hell of an arc, not only over movies, but over all 3 of her movies. And then she's so badass that they made a clone that's just as I like Resurrection. And that was actually the first Alien movie I saw. It's not good, but it's a hell of a fun time. And Ripley 8, the clone of Ripley, is even more is badass, but only badass. That's the only thing that makes it work. She is just badass and nothing else. But I think Ellen Ripley is one of the greatest characters ever. Point blank, period. So that's it for me. But as for the rest of them, I said it already. Indiana and Marty are great characters. Back to the Future and Indiana Jones franchises are amazing franchises. Bond has some good ones. I just never connected to the man, not in any iteration or form. It's really difficult for me to get through the old ones. I have personal experiences with Spectre, and when I went to go see Spectre, that also takes it down. I have a whole story where I want to kill my friend based on something off of that, but that's another story for another day. But for me, Bond, in no way, I have no connection to Bond whatsoever. That's why he was 4. So that was easy. But after that, I did kind of have to switch Indy and Marty back and forth a couple of times until I got the final one. But that's it for me. Ryan, I'm going to go over you. Any character that you could think of in geekdom, and final thoughts on this list, and who you saved, or any part of the list in general.
Any character in anything whatsoever?
That's not DC, Marvel, Wizarding World, Middle Earth, Star Trek, or Star Wars.
Jeez, way to narrow it down. Like, unfortunately, I can't use Doctor Who because his movie wasn't cinematic.
Go ahead and pick Doctor Who. Whatever. Go ahead and pick Doctor Who.
All right, fine. I'll do it. I'll take the TV bullet. I know Cody's not going to enjoy that, but you know what? When I think about people that exemplify the best of like humanity or the best of what we can create cinematically, I have to think about Doctor Who. I mean, yeah, he may be an alien and everything, but then again, so is Superman. And it always seems to be like these, foreign entities that really help to exemplify the best that we as a people, as a species, as a society can offer. Doctor Who is one of those things that just always has like the best positivity. And I would pick them if I could, I would. As for this list, would it be over Indy? Maybe. Certainly Doctor has a better success rate. And time travel's a hell of a lot better than Marty does. But I'd say as far as the list is going, I mean, like I said, when I went through this, I looked at the people and how effective they were in their films. The films themselves may be great, but if the protagonist is somebody that I can't get attached to, or is probably a worse example of what we could do and doesn't exemplify everything that we are capable of, why would I want them around? You know? So let's do better.
Paul, what about you? Is anybody supplanting Indy, any character, and its final thoughts on tonight's show and the list in general?
Nobody is supplanting Indy. That will never happen. That movie, Raiders of the Lost Ark, has been with me for so long. I often ask people what their favorite movie of all time is, and I always get different answers. Many people like to cheat. Give me 2 or 3. It's fine. Whatever your criteria is, mine is. It's just been with me for so long, 41 years now, and so it's not going to be beaten. I could see the most brilliant movie. I mean, I walk out of Endgame, I walk out of No Country for Old Men or something, and I think this is the greatest movie I've ever seen. But it's not going to beat Raiders of the Lost Ark. So that will never change. That is number one. Now, as far as characters to save, like last-minute saves, right? Does it have to be sort of supernatural? Because Alien is supernatural, and Bond even has like crazy space lasers and stuff.
This is the wild card one, so just give me a movie character that's kind of geeky. Go on ahead and do that.
That's not. It may not be geeky, but any love I can show Martin Riggs. The weapon. That's my guy. I would take him. I would go to war for Martin Riggs. So yeah, I would save him.
All right. Cody, sir, down to you. Any other character that would supplant Marty if you had to pick one that came to mind? It's like, why are they not on this list? And final thoughts about tonight.
Yeah, so like Doc would probably beat Doc would beat Marty. There's no question about that. It's my 4th favorite movie of all time, so it's really hard to put somebody past it. Like The Departed is my favorite movie of all time. Nobody's geek related in that. I would say like if you included people on the list to make it a little harder, like I'm now like after a rewatch, I think John Wick, especially where they keep going with it, I would follow that character probably over some of these other ones. But yeah, I think that is the clear. But yeah, Doc Brown is the reason. The last episode, I guess, or the episode before, grayed out Doc Brown, right? Not including Doc on this, or is that on a different one? Because I know you did a show, so I just
Marty just beat out Doc Brown to come here.
Yeah, and I think that's just the incorrect choice. I think Doc's the heart and soul really of that movie. So like for him to be gone, but yeah, that would be the only one to surpass because when I saw Back to the Future the first time, like it was just a mind-blowing experience. So it's really hard to upset Marty in this. If you're giving me one of the characters, you give me the DeLorean, I'd still pick the DeLorean. Even though DeLorean's probably a piece of shit car, I'm picking the DeLorean. Sorry, not changing.
Moose, what about you, sir?
I mean, Indiana Jones is going to say number 1 for me. He's always been my favorite movie hero, absolutely, my entire life. Only second to, and I would replace James Bond with Dr. Egon Spengler.
Ooh.
I'm going to throw a little thump to the Ghostbusters, which is my favorite movie of all time. Bump that punk-ass Bond out of the way and give me a little Egon, baby. 3 great movies, Egon Spengler. And I'm counting him in Afterlife.
They could have been there.
But hey, all love to Ellen Ripley. All love to all of these characters. Seriously, like each of these franchises has just killer movies, amazing character work. I just, again, I kind of went with the idea that we were basing this off of the character work. And that's why Bond landed so low. That's why Marty went 3rd. But again, I think Back to the Future is that trilogy is a perfect trilogy. I really enjoy like certain entries in the Bond franchise. Yeah, agreed. There's some stinkers in the Aliens franchise. But at the same time, like that's not Ellen Ripley or Sigourney Weaver's doing. She played the hell out of that character. And of course, always going to be reigning top of my list is going to be the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Indiana Jones.
And Nate, bring us home, sir. What about you? Anybody else you could think of? They're like, they were on this list. They would be up there. And just final thoughts of tonight.
Yeah, so I've enjoyed the conversation tonight, fellas. I appreciate everybody's viewpoints. And I will say, once Idris Elba dons that suit to become 007, I will save some room on the Bond wagon for you boys because I think you're going to change your tunes then.
I'll be all over it.
I don't hate that at all. I mean, that's been great since The Rumor.
Yes, like the rumors are better than some of them Bond movies. I'll admit that. But Cody hit on something because I've got a wild card in mind. But Cody, almost made me switch it at the last minute when he brought up John Wick, because then I was thinking, oh, Keanu. I was thinking The Matrix. I was like, Neo's a great character, Morpheus. But then I thought if I kept any of those characters, I would have to keep that scene in the second movie where former middleweight champion Roy Jones Jr. is like, Morpheus, what can we do? They trying to stop us. Somebody get the ships ready. And I don't think anybody needs that scene. Not even Roy Jones Jr. So we're gonna toss that out. We're gonna toss that out.
He had a better cameo in Simpsons.
Yes, he did. But I think I'm going to stick with somebody that's kind of fighting crime. And let's go out to Beverly Hills, because there was a time in Beverly Hills when there was some crime going on and none of the local cops could stop it. And they had to turn to a street smart cop from Detroit. Detective Axel Foley is who I would put in as a wild card.
Nice.
With all these mentions, me and Bitesize have been thinking that after this tournament, action hero might just have to be the next bracket coming through, seeing how we're gonna see who the best in action hero is. That would be a fun one. But thank you, gentlemen. But we do have to figure out who actually moves on to face Obi-Wan Kenobi and Spock in this tournament. So here's how this works, gentlemen. We not only do we have our six panelists tonight, but we also had a fan vote. Polls went up on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook for fan votes, so who they would save. And it turned out Indiana Jones got the #1 spot. James Bond got the #2 spot overall. And Marty McFly came in third. No love for Ripley, which hurt my soul. But here's how it works. Out of the 7 of us, the 6 of us in the fan votes, any first place votes gets 5 points. Any second place votes gets 3 points. Any third place votes gets 1. And the top 2 get to move on to face the finalists of the Galaxies bracket, which was Obi-Wan Kenobi and Spock. So going through it, Ripley, with the third place votes getting her up to 14 points, and my save getting her 5, so not bad. One Mr. James Bond also ending up with 14 points. That's going to make it pretty interesting. Indy has the 26. It was pretty cut and clear with all his first place votes. So it comes down to whether or not we need to break a tie or Marty McFly swoops in there. And he does not. He does not. So we have a tie. And the way we do this is we go back and look at the votes. And only one person for each of us saved both Ripley and Bond. So we can't look at the first place votes. But based on the second place votes, Bond has 3 and Ripley has 2. So with that, those going forward.
Surviving advance
to the next round to face Obi-Wan Kenobi and Spock are Indiana Jones and James Bond.
My top 2.
Same.
I want to thank you, gentlemen. That's how it played out today. At any point,
it's disgusting.
It's an honor for all of these characters just to be nominated, guys.
It's an honor. But I want to thank everybody, all of y'all, for coming on tonight. It was a great show, great conversations. At any point, if you want to come on for another one, even for the last couple of rounds of this bracket, I'd love to have you. But for Ryan, for Paul, for Cody, who is sad man right now, for Moose Haas, I'd love to have you back. And for Nate, we appreciate y'all for watching. We are out of here.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.